Hi, I am Alok JHA. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So we are working on previous year questions and it's good that you are watching it, but I need right more enthusiasm, right? I have to cover hundreds of questions of history optional. So it's a long journey and I need your support, motivation. Great. So, we have covered sources. We are doing ancient India and we have covered sources. Now we have to take up the next topic of your ancient India, prehistory. So, we should start. Correct. So, now we can go for prehistory, second topic. And in this topic also we will take up three questions. Generally, prehistory is considered as complicated. We don't want to attempt questions related to prehistory in our examination. But my personal experience also of civil services main examination as a student suggest that is, attempting questions related to prehistory is very important and very, scoring. Fine. So, if you see some question of prehistory, you must attempt it. Believe me, it is very scoring. Fine. So, we will see three important questions related to prehistory and it will give you a sense what kind of question they are asking. Fine. Correct. Just see the question number one. Question number one is, I hope you can see the question. Correct. So, question number one, which was asked in, you can say 2023 or 2022, right? Recently they have asked this question that the Neolithic age represents a revolution due to significant changes that took place during this period. Examine. You have to examine. So, Neolithic age as a revolution. Correct. So, what you have to write? You have to examine. Most of the student, they are familiar with this concept called Neolithic revolution. It's not a complicated question, but you have to examine it. Try to understand. You have to write whether you can call it revolution or not. Are you getting my point? First, you are introducing the, you can say, this Neolithic. You can write what exactly was the age of this Neolithic period. You all know it is around right. It is around 7,000 or 6,000 BCE. Fine, to 1000 BCE. Correct. So, in this type of question, you have to first write that Neolithic period is from approximately, right, roughly 7000 BCE to 1000 BCE. You can write 6000 BCE also to 1000 BCE. Is that fine? I hope you can see what I am writing, right? So, 6000 BCE to 1000 BCE. You can just write what exactly is the time frame. And then you can mention that it is very important period of human civilization. And this term Neolithic revolution was used by V. Gordon Childe. In introduction only you can write that V. Gordon Childe, V. Gordon Childe. Right, V. Gordon Childe. In his book, he wrote a book in 1936. I hope you are aware. It can be asked in prelims also. 1936, man makes himself. Makes himself. So, you have to introduce. You have to write that Neolithic period is very important period. It brought multi-dimensional changes it laid the foundation of civilization, and now human communities were not dependent entirely on the resources of the nature for survival, and they started producing, their own food. So there was a change from food gathering to food producing. There was a change. So it was very significant, and we, God and child, considered it a revolution. Is that fine? Introduction is fine. So this kind of introduction you can mention. Now, what would be the second part? You can mention that significant changes they made. Significant changes. So in the question you can see that it represents a revolution due to significant changes that took place during this period. What kind of significant changes took place? You can mention that significant changes that took place in this period. Fine. You can mention that how there was a what you call fundamental transformation in human life, from food gathering to food producing. Are you getting that? So agriculture, I hope you are getting it. This was very significant change. Agriculture, now cultivation, agriculture was now known, right? So now there was a transformation from nomadic life to sedentary life. So it was a great thing. So there was a transformation. You will see that in this period there was a transformation from nomadic life to what you call sedentary life. So I hope you can see what I am writing, right? You can say nomadic life to sedentary life. Settlement was there, right? People started constructing their houses. They started using mud, they started using thatch. So they started constructing their houses. They started living at a place permanently. So community life started. Community life started. Settled life started. So it was a permanent, you can say it was a great change. You must be knowing all this. So you have to write all these significant changes. Then you have to write how in this period there was technological development. They started using polished stone tools. Yes or no? So you have to write that they started using polished stone tools. They started using polished stone tools. Then they started, making pottery. This was very important. So now you will see pottery started. So now in this period there was the introduction of pottery. Right? And now they started using, pottery for storage, probably also storage also. So in this period, all these changes you can notice. You can see polished tools, you can see pottery making, you can see domestication of plant and animal, you can see agriculture, you can see settled life, right? So all these changes, they are revolutionary changes. So in that context, we should call Neolithic age as a revolution. Fine. So this part is done. First part is introduction. Second part you are writing about significant changes. But there is a need to add one more part. What? We can mention that, right, this term revolution is appropriate or not. So you have to write limitations of this term of the term a revolution. Correct? This part is very important. Gordon Child considered it as a revolution, but there are some scholars who did not agree, who said no, it was not revolution. They said that the changes were not abrupt, the changes were not sudden, changes were not sudden, it was gradual, it was gradual, it was gradual. And hunting and gathering continued in some area. It's not that, right, in different part agriculture only was practiced, agriculture was the only dominant thing. No, cattle rearing or say hunting, it also continued, fine, alongside farming in many areas. So there was regional variation. I hope you are appreciating. There was regional variation. It existed. And you must be knowing there was delayed Neolithic in South India. Are you aware? Delayed Neolithic, because in the Neolithic age, the people from South India, they were cattle herders. We have evidence. So delayed Neolithic age in South India. So it was not a uniform process. Fine. So therefore, some historians, they say no, it was, you cannot call it a revolution. You have to give some name. Like for example, you can mention that, right, there was a British historian called Graham Barker. Remember this name, Gramebarker. Graham Barker. Graham Barker, he argued that the shift to agriculture was a long-term process with regional variation. It was not a single dramatic break. It was not a single dramatic break. So you cannot call it revolution. Then there was Kent Flannery. Kent Flannery. Flannery. Kent Flannery. He also suggested that agriculture was not practiced by all. It was an experience and it evolved through trial and error technique. It was not a fixed transformation. People were still experimenting. So you cannot call it a revolution. Fine. So in this manner, you can talk about that there are limitations and you cannot just use the term revolution. And then you can mention the conclusion. And in conclusion, you can always say that it should not be viewed as revolution. It should be considered as transformation. It should be considered as transformation. It should be considered as evolution. Right? Fine. Rather than a revolution. So this kind of conclusion you can mention. Fine. So you can always suggest that it should be viewed as a transformation rather than a revolution. You can always suggest that it was evolution, a long process. Fine. So it was a gradual process, long-term transformative process. This kind of conclusion you can make. I hope you understood the answer and you can write better. So there is a need to write Gordon Child, there is a need to write Kent Flannery, and if possible there is a need to write Barker, right? So your answer would be more appropriate. Now should we move to second question? Fine. Now see the second question. Can you see the second question? Fine. Second question is, in the absence of a written script, Chalcolithic pottery gives us a fascinating insight into the culture and lifestyle of the people of those times. Comment critically. Here you don't have to examine, you have to comment. So when you have to comment, you have to give your views. When you have to comment, right, it means that the given sentence is not 100% appropriate or correct. I hope you are getting my point. Now, how you can attempt this question? First, again, you have to write what is chalcolithic, right? What is chalcolithic? So, chalcolithic is chalcolithic, stone copper phase. So, in introduction, you can mention that how it is a stone copper phase. Stone copper phase. Fine. You can mention what is the overall, chronology. So, generally it is believed that it is approximately Chalcolithic age is from 2000 BCE to 700 BCE. I hope you are getting it. So, 2000 BCE to 700 BCE. So, you can write what is the meaning of Chalcolithic, you can write what is the proper chronology of Chalcolithic. Then you can give examples of Chalcolithic. First, you can give examples. Do you know there are some Chalcolithic examples of Chalcolithic culture in Southeast Rajasthan, right? Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh. Fine. So you can give example of what you can say Ahar, Banas culture, Malwa culture, Gyaneswar, Jodhpura culture, Kayatha culture, Jorwe culture. Have you heard about all this? Right. So you can give example also that give examples that these are some examples of Chalcolithic culture, mainly in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, what you call Malwa, and then Maharashtra area. Fine. So there are many sites. Now we have sites in different area, not only in these areas. Beyond that also there are examples of Chalcolithic culture. So here copper was also used, stone was also used. Copper plus stone. So this kind of introduction you can give. So introduction is fine. Now, coming to the second part. In second part, what you can mention? That this culture, what you call Chalcolithic culture, was, right, all these culture, so they were largely non-literate. They were largely non-literate, not literate civilization. Sorry, not literate culture. So we cannot use civilization here. Sorry to use that. So non-literate. So if you don't have a script, if you don't have written material, what is the choice? In the absence of written records, pottery remains one of the most significant archaeological sources for reconstructing their socio-economic and cultural life. So you have to depend on pottery. So we are dependent on pottery. So we are dependent on pottery, yes or no? So if you don't have literary evidence, we are dependent on pottery. Correct? We have some, right? You can say pottery is available. Chalcolithic culture, they were known for painted pottery tradition. Fine. They used variety of pottery. Yes or no? Some of them were handmade, some of them were wheel made. Correct? Some of them were handmade, some of them were wheel made. You have to write all this. We are dependent on pottery. We are getting different pottery. We have black and red pottery. Most common was black and red pottery. Black and red pottery. Right? It was the most common. Then we have ochre colored pottery. So these are some potteries. They were widely used. Fine. So we are using potteries, different colored pottery, different type of pottery for reconstructing, right, history of this period. We are dependent on it. Fine. Now, how this pottery gives us fascinating insight. So now the next part you can mention that how pottery is helping. How pottery is helping. Suppose we have different type of pottery. We have storage jars. You tell me, you have storage jars. So when you have storage jars, when you have cooking vessels, when you have spouted vessels, what it indicates? It indicates dietary habits. It indicates food processing technique. So we came to know about it. For example, some carbonized remains inside pots found. So it gives us clues about crops. These kind of crops were used by Chalcolithic people. So it is helping us. Suppose large storage jars found. Large storage jars found. It means what? Probably there was surplus production. I hope you are getting it, how these potteries are helping. Then these potteries, they are of different, color, painting, right, motifs. So it suggests advancement in craft production, craft specialization. We have, right, we can also suggest that there was technological variation. We have some painted motifs on them, painted motifs, right, painted motifs on them, geometric designs on them, some animal, some human figures. So all this indicates their aesthetic sensibilities. I hope you are getting it. Certain motifs reflect their religious beliefs, their thought, their ideology. I hope you are getting it. Some information they are giving. Fine. Then we can suggest that there was some cultural diffusion also, impact of some other culture also. So they also suggest cultural diffusion. Cultural diffusion. I hope you are getting it. And we have different type, different material, right? Different color. So it also indicates social differentiation. Social differentiation. Differentiation. Social differentiation. Variation of pottery indicates what? Variation in quality, variation in decoration, variation in, you can say, burial offerings, right? It all suggests that there were social differences. They believed in afterlife, social hierarchies. All this you can mention that how potteries are helpful. But this is not the end of the answer. You have to write that potteries are not sufficient. Try to understand it. So the last part of the answer you can mention that potteries are not sufficient source. You just cannot depend on pottery, believe me. How can you write the story of certain age or certain period only on the basis of pottery? You cannot do that. So pottery mainly reflects material aspects of life, yes or no. So there are limitations. Pottery, they reflects what? You have to write that pottery, they mainly reflects material aspects, right, of life. So it is not a complete story. I hope you are getting it. So you are writing something on the basis of motifs, on the basis of symbols, But I hope you understand it, that motifs and symbols are open to multiple interpretations, Yes or no? X can interpret it in different manner, Y can interpret it in different manner. So these are limitations. So without written corroboration, conclusions remain speculative. Yes or no? And there are regional variation also even in these potteries. Fine. So of course pottery can be used. What would be your final comment? Potteries can be used, definitely, because we don't have written evidence. But it must be used cautiously, and it should be supplemented with other evidence. So what is the core idea? Pottery is okay, pottery is helping us, but pottery must be supplemented with other evidence. So pottery, significant information, you can say important indications we are getting, but it provides only a fragmented picture. We are not getting the complete picture, right? And for complete picture we have to use other archaeological evidence. I hope you understood the question and you understood the answer. You can handle it. Fine. So believe me, previous year question analysis, right, I repeated many times, right? In my last 2 videos also, it's a very challenging thing. My purpose is not to give you a, what you call model answer. Model answer, right, cannot be created. But I am trying my best to simplify this question. And I believe that on the basis of this simplification, you can write better answer, right? Now we can take one more question. Is it fine? So we can take one more question. Fine. So can you see the question? Yes. So the question is, delineate and account for. Delineate meaning describe. Account for meaning you have to give causes. Delineate and account for the regional characteristics of the Neolithic period in India, right? Delineate and account for. Try to understand it. First, again, you have to write an introduction about Neolithic age. You have to write what is Neolithic age, how it was a revolution. You can write what exactly was the time period. I already told you, time period is around 7000 or 6000 BCE to what? 1000 BCE. And remember, it varies regionally, different period, different time period, correct? So you have to write the time period. Now in this question you have to write that there is a regional variation in different, you can say, Neolithic culture in India. And this regional variation is because of differences in climate, because of cultural interaction, correct? So you have to give example. Suppose you have to give example of Northwest. You have to give example of Kashmir Valley. You have to give example of Belan Valley, or you can say Ganga Valley. You have to give example of Northeast. You have to give example of, right, South. So you have to give all these regional characteristics, and you have to also suggest that why this regional characteristics, account for why this regional characteristics. So in different parts, suppose you are starting with Northwest, you can mention what is the key site. Suppose in Northwest key site is Mehergarh. Suppose in Kashmir Valley key site is Gufkaral Burja Home. Suppose north is Dauzale Heading. Suppose Ganga Valley you have Koldiva, right? You have, right, even Chirand, Bihar is also the part of that zone. Then South, Payampalli, Takkalkot, right? All this site, key site, and what all are the regional characteristics. You have to write the regional characteristics. And you have to write why these regional characteristics. Are you getting the answer? Introduction, then different regional cultures, variation. You are starting from northwest, Mehergar, then Kashmir Valley, then Belan Valley, Uttar Pradesh, Ganga Valley, some part of Bihar also, then northeast, Assam area, right? And then coming to south, in south also, we have many sites. And why all these regional variation? Suppose in northwest, you are giving the example of Mehergar. In Mehergar, you can suggest that how Mehergar, what is the regional, what all are the regional characteristics? In Mehergar, we have earliest cultivation of wheat, earliest cultivation of barley. So you can write that. In Mehergar, you have evidence of pottery. In Mehergar, you have evidence of burial with grave goods. So you can write all those information, regional characteristics of Mehergar, correct? So you have to write northwest, and you have to write why this regional variation from other areas, because probably proximity to West Asian Neolithic culture. So therefore they had some, right, typical features, correct? So cultural diffusion might have played important role here. Then you can come to second part, Kashmir Valley. In Kashmir Valley, you can give example of key site like Burja Home. You can mention that in Burja Home you have some typical feature. I hope you all know it, like pit dwelling. Yes or no? Pit dwelling. You have use of stone tools and bone tools as well. Then you have burials included animal, dogs, animal like dogs, domesticated dogs also buried. So all the typical features of Kashmir Valley you can mention. And why this kind of regional features? Probably because of, right, difference in climate, cold climate, right? Therefore they use this kind of dwelling. I hope you are getting it. So why some typical feature? Because of differences in climate, differences in ecology, some cultural, influences. Like this, you can mention the characteristics of, suppose, Ganga Valley. You can give example of Chirand, Koldeva, Mahagara, Jhusi. Are you aware? Jhusi, it's a newly excavated site near Prayagraj, Jhusi. All these examples you can give, and you can mention that here also you have some regional characteristics. What all? Here you have the evidence of rice cultivation. Yes or no? Rice cultivation here, rice cultivation. Grains available. You have some circular huts made up of wattle and daub. You have some tools, typical tools, some typical potteries. Even in Kashmir, you have some typical coarse grain potteries. So regional characteristics you have to give. Then you can come to, right, northeast Daujale heading, right? So it's a key site, and here also you have some typical findings like a very rare mineral, jadeite, Jadeite. So some typical features even in northeast, some different potteries you have. So why this kind of evidence? Some link with China, some link with Southeast Asian, you can say, cultures. So probably because of this some regional variation. So you have to account for, you have to write causes also. Why this regional variation? Then you can come to south, and in south also I told you that in south we have more evidence of domestication of animal. You have ass mound, prominent ass mound. Are you aware? Ass mound. Burnt cattle dung heaps. We have more evidence of pastoralism. They were primarily cattle herders, right? So you have some stone polished tools also in south. So some regional characteristics also you can mention. So I hope you are getting it. You have to give introduction, Then you have to give regional variation. Regional variation. In different part, give example, give characteristic feature and explain why these typical features, what kind of factors influence them. Sometime climate, sometime you can say some other cultures influence, like that. And then we can mention conclusion. In conclusion, you can always suggest that Indian Neolithic culture, it was not a uniform revolution, right? So it was not a uniform revolution, not a uniform revolution, right? And it was regionally varied process. It was regionally varied, and a different region, different features, and it was a process of adaptation and innovation. So you have to write both adaptation and innovation. In different area you have evidence of adaptation and you have evidence of adaptation and innovation, and it was shaped by environmental factors and it was shaped by cultural contact. So this kind of this kind of answer you can always write. I hope, right, I am helping you, and again I repeat, I need your support, because making this kind of video, right, I was doing it in the class, most of you are aware, but on YouTube, right, is a challenging task, right, consistently doing it, but I will try to continue this challenging task for you. So hope you are getting benefit, and if you are getting benefit, please subscribe to this channel and right, support us. Thank you.